it's Mia from Rose Nails by Slade-Coombs, and today I'm going to be doing a 3D rose. So I've just gone over with 2 coats of holographic number 6 from SBD London, and then I've topped it off with the tempering top coat, which is obviously let's just take a minute to appreciate how freaking gorgeous this looks. So I'm going to be using the 4D Pretty Putty from SBD London with their slip solution, and I'm going to be using it in the colour Snow, which is the white one. I'm also going to be using their 3D Oval 2 brush and my little spatula that I got off eBay. So I'm just going to get a little amount of this, and I decided that the amount that I got at first was too much, so I've taken a bit away. So I'm going to do like a little rose type thing. I'm not the best at 3D art, let me just say that straight away. It takes a hell of a lot of faffing, but I think it turns out alright. So you want to be sort of patting and pushing, I said would be the motions you're trying to do. So I'm going to be using my brush at this angle to the nail, and you want to sort of pat and push this into like a kind of half moony croissant kind of shape. I hope that makes any sense at all. Just dip your brush into the SBD London slip solution as soon as you sort of feel it sticking to the product too much to the brush, and then just get off any excess with a paper towel. So I use like, I don't know how to explain it. Right, so that's going in the lamp, by the way, for 60 seconds, and I'll tell you what I was going to tell you in a minute about how I use the brush. Right, so I'm just going to get another little blob and kind of put it in the middle of where my flower's going to be. And again, patting and pressing this at the same kind of angle as the other petal, and I'm overlapping this petal by about 1/3 over the petal that I've just done. So I'm just going to push that around into place. Again, I'm going for like a sort of fat croissant shape, and you want to be putting more pressure on the inside of the petal, like where your bud's going to be, and less pressure on the outside to sort of create more thickness towards the outer edges of your petal. Right, so this is what I was saying about my brush. So I use like the edges of my brush to sort of skirt around the outside of the petals, just to kind of push them up a little bit and give them a little bit more height. Obviously, if your client wants it higher, you can push it higher. If your client wants it quite low down so that it doesn't sort of interfere with their day-to-day life, then you can also push it really quite flat. So I've just cured that petal again in the lamp for 60 seconds. And I'm going to go in with a smaller blob of the Pretty Putty. As I'm going round and round and round the circle with the petals, my little blobs of Pretty Putty are getting smaller. So again, I'm overlapping this, and I'm also like overlapping it onto the first petal that we did. Now we've sort of completed a whole circle of petals, and I'm again using my brush to sort of sneak in here. You can kind of see from the shadow, and give it a little bit of height, just to give it a bit more sort of 3D definition. I hope that makes sense. It's really hard to explain 3D work without sort of having somebody there in front of me. So again, I'm just using my brush to sort of sweep in at the sides. I really want those petals defined from each other. So I don't want them to look like one big white circle, which I realise it looks like right now, but I will move my lamp in a minute just to show you where the shadows are. So again, I'm going to cure that. There you go, look. There we are, move my lamp. So that's how it looks so far with all those 3 petals overlapping. And I'm going to pop that in for a 60-second cure. And now I'm going to go in with a little diddy amount of Pretty Putty. And I'm going to squish that to the top. Now my brush angle is much higher for this because I'm getting smaller. So I'm sort of putting my brush at a much higher angle now than I was before when I was trying to make big flat petals. I'm now trying to make tiny little detailed ones. So I'm going to use my brush at a slightly higher angle. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so I want to make sure that there is still some whiteness in the middle, whereas before I was kind of pushing it all out so you could still see the black in the middle. And I'm going to use the edges of my brush to put them underneath the wet Pretty Putty and kind of push the edges of this inwards to kind of create like a middle sort of bud petal thing. I know what I'm on about. I'm very sorry if you don't know what I'm on about. But yes, I'm scooping them around so that the two edges meet in the middle. And there you go. They kind of meet in the middle. There we are. And you can just kind of sweep your brush across really, really lightly, because obviously you don't want to push that bit in. So you're using incredibly light brush strokes right now. I'm just going to put my brush inside the centre of the flower to make the centre very defined, and then scoop the other bits together so they join in the middle. And that's about it really for this flower. I mean, obviously you can do more detailed ones, but I'm not. I'm just doing a nice simple one this time. I'm just going to go in with some of my Nail-Alchemy Artisan gel paints and my Nao Nails 0003 brush, which is one of my favourites. In case you haven't noticed from my other videos, I use it all the time. I really need to get the rest of their collection actually. And I'm just going to sort of do some pretty wavy lines and some pretty dots just to finish the design off really, just so it doesn't look like a flower plonked in the middle of the nail. You can also decorate it by sort of putting crystals around the flower. That looks super nice. But I didn't really want to add crystals because I didn't want to take away from the gorgeous sparkle of the holographic number 6 gel polish. I kind of wanted that to have all the pizzazz behind it, and then keep the flower and any sort of decorations quite plain and simple. So I'm just going in and doing some pretty wavy lines. There was no sort of rhyme or reason to these lines. It was just wherever I thought it looked nice. Kind of reminded me of a jellyfish when I was done actually. So I'm just going to go in with my dotting tool. I love this dotting tool. It's you can get quite a few dotting tools on eBay and stuff, but this is like a super fine detail dotting tool, and you can see the end of it that I'm using now. One end of it has like a little circle dotting tool, and this end is like a needle point, so you can get really super fine tiny dots. So I would definitely recommend getting one like that if you're struggling with getting sort of these massive dots from the eBay type dotting tools. But yeah, I'm just sort of putting these wherever I feel is kind of necessary to accentuate the design. And then once these are done, the Nail-Alchemy Artisan gel paints cure for 60 seconds. And so I will pop that in the lamp to finish it all off. It's so pretty. It's so, so pretty. But yeah, I didn't really want anything too glitz and glam with like crystals and stuff, because I love that polish. It's just amazing. So right, this is it all done. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's been useful, because I know that sort of 3D work can be really, really daunting to people. And I hope you love the gel polish, because it's just stunning. And yeah, so I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you found it helpful, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!